So earlier I was telling you about those mini-series I used to make for youth summer camps. One of my favorites was a series called Adventure Now. We actually made 3 seasons of it. The first year was a more modest achievement. We shot it all here in Nashville with older equipment and a less ambitious story, but the second year we decided to go big, do an all-out action-adventure series. Shooting about 70% of it in the deserts of New Mexico. It was going to be awesome. One problem. The story revolved around the 3 lead characters, Walt, Pete, and Garrett. The guy who played Garrett, whose name was Garrett because we have no ideas and are uncreative, Garrett worked for Vanderbilt football at the time, so there's a chance he wouldn't be able to go to the desert with us. He assured us, though, that unless Vandy went to a bowl game, he'd be able to go with us. That ended up being one of the most amazing years in Vanderbilt football history, and the first year in decades that Vandy went to a bowl game, so he wasn't going to be able to come to New Mexico with us. We weren't going to have Garrett. So I tried to write a version without him. But the chemistry relied too much on what Garrett brought. Walt was the lead character and Pete was the goofy one, and without Garrett's sarcasm and dry wit to play off of Pete's goofiness, it was now up to Walt to bring the sarcasm, which I quickly discovered made Walt come off very unlikable and mean. He just wasn't working. And there was no way we could get Garrett out there to the desert with us, so just as an experiment, I thought, what's the stupidest thing I could do to solve this problem?
Yeah. Who are y'all talking to?
We're talking to Walt's jacket.
Your what?
We're talking to Walt's jacket. You kind of have to be here to understand it.
I doubt that's true.
It is true, Garrett. Please stop arguing with me.
Cut to Cardboard Garrett. We printed a cardboard cutout of Garrett, duct taped a cell phone to his chest so he was able to be in constant communication and involved in the activities going on in the desert. Our story explanation was that Garrett found out at the last minute he had to go to summer school, which itself ended up providing a world of comedic opportunities.
It's not what it sounds like.
This is when I learned the true value of 2 very important things: limitations and bad ideas. Limitations back you into something to work with. They give you the freedom to own your ideas and try crazy things. Some of the most iconic images in cinema history were born out of limitations. The unseen shark in Jaws was born from the mechanical shark never working properly. The clock tower in Back to the Future was born out of a major budget cut that forced Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale to abandon their original ending in a nuclear testing facility. Limitations are to be embraced and exploited, never avoided. Thank you. So I say always be on the lookout for them. Find them before they find you. And then when you find them, don't defeat them. Recruit them. The same goes for bad ideas. Bad ideas are very often just bad ideas, but sometimes they only sound like bad ideas because they're unexpected and you're not used to them. Sometimes they might be your best ideas. Give them respect, seek them out, try them on. If they don't fit, don't buy them, but you might be surprised how good your story looks on them. Your homework? Write out a list of limitations currently imposed on your story. Maybe your script can only be a certain number of pages long. Maybe you can only have a certain number of characters or a certain number of locations. Maybe it all has to take place in one night. Or maybe it all has to take place in the day. Maybe your current idea is unshootable. Maybe you can't shoot it with the amount of resources you have. If that's the case, make a list of what resources you do have. What can you accomplish with that list? And what ideas are inspired by that list? I think you'd be surprised. Look at your limitations as opportunities. How can you use them to make your story better? Then, write out a list of bad ideas. This can obviously be a blast, so go to town. Think of the stupidest choices you could make with your script. Then look at them, and just for a minute, give them a chance. Pretend you're actually going to implement some of these ideas. What repercussions would they have on your story? Does any of it inspire you, excite you, shock you? Give it a try. You might surprise yourself and your audience. Boom.